All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Playbook. I'm here with head coach of Andrew Jackson Volunteer Football, Jeremy Smith. Coach, thanks for being on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. And coach, talk about your message to the guys after the Louisville game.
Yeah, we felt like we made some mistakes early on first quarter. We just kind of talked about, we've got to start eliminating some of those mistakes and just gets us behind, whether it be offensively, defensively. We felt like we played a good second quarter. We came out. We knew we had to get a drive going. We got the ball in the third quarter and start the half, and we had a good drive, but just couldn't finish it, and had a good kick return, but just couldn't finish it. So, the message was, we've got to eliminate some mistakes. We've got to play a little faster, and what we mean by that is just kind of whether it's defensively, making sure we're flying to the football, or offensively, whether we're finishing blocks. We just looked a little sluggish at times, and so we've got to get out of that, and we got to play faster. And it's not an effort thing. We don't we've got a core group of guys that are really, like I said, since January have been working hard, and we don't question. I don't question their effort or work ethic. We know that's there. We just got to get them a motor all the time, and when you play good teams, right, if you don't match that intensity or match that, you're probably going to get beat. So we got to fix some mistakes. Some of it we had some middle mistakes that we're just we've got to get better at. And coaching wise, we said we were going to make a plan this week to make sure we start fixing those things.
And talk about your offense. I know offensively, it sounds like you're able to move the ball, just not quite finishing at
Yeah,
the end of the play. I mean,
yeah,
how do you fix something like that? Is it just experience, or is it just, you just got to make it happen?
yeah. I mean, we had multiple drives that we got into the red zone and or across the 50, and um, some of it is like we talk about mistake wise was we just got to fix. We had a couple holding calls, right, and so those are just sometimes they're judgment calls, sometimes it's just blatant we did it, and so we've got to do a better job of fixing our hands, and we got to do a better job as coaches of coaching up blocking and making sure that we hound those things. That's part of it. Is just we were penalty driven that night, and then it is, and like you said, some of it does come from experience. And we just had you know a situation Friday night where we've already gotten one starting quarterback down, the other starting quarterback goes down, and then you're in another situation where you got guys in there who haven't done it before. So some of it was just a lack of inexperience, um, and so we're learning and growing through that. But yeah, we got to do a better job of just saying, hey, we're going to lock in once we get past certain point, and we should be locked in all the time. But we get red zone, we got to just play mistake free.
And talk about your defense, what you saw in them and what you liked.
Yeah, like I said, they play with good effort. I mean, we each week, I mean, we've getting solid play out of Q Hall and Cam McGill and Bryce Peterson and a couple other D linemen that are core in there. I mean, Jace Fair had a good game, so we've got some guys that are playing. We feel like week in and week out, just great football, and we just got to we got to make sure it's an all 11 thing. And like I said, we did a good job at times of getting stops and not giving up an explosive play. The biggest thing that we've been harping on since yesterday was we got to fix just our tackling in the open field. Right, we just missed some tackles in the open field, and they took advantage of it. So we just got to do a better job at that. But overall, like through these games, they've been playing. We've had some really good quarters of football from our defense, and so we just got to keep their mentality of urgency up. And like I said, beginning with just get 11 guys to the football.
And talk about your special teams, what you saw in them and what you liked.
Yeah, I mean, we first time our field goal unit goes out, and first time this season it gets a field goal. So they executed that. CT does a good job with those, and CT's doing a better job. He's putting them either on the goal line or in the end zone, and so we're happy with the kicking game. We just got to do like I said, we had a big kick return. They got down to about their 35 or 30, 25 yard line. So we're doing good things there. it's just, much as we can keep creating explosive plays, right? So if we can create big returns, and just like I say every week, just flip the field position and execute it.
Now you have Fairfield Central on deck here, but
Yeah.
weather comes into play and all these other things kind of come into play, which kind of messes with you as coaches trying to figure out stuff. Does that trickle down to the kids, do you feel like, in practice, or are they able to like lock in and just be ready to go?
I think there's a routine, right? And coaches and players get in a routine. And I think sometimes when you break that routine up, yeah, it could affect you if you let it affect you. We probably get more affected as coaches because now I'm thinking about, well, we're losing a day or whatever preparation, and how we going to fix that in practice and all that. But coach or player wise, I think most of the time they're ready to go whenever play the game. So whether we think they're prepared or not, they're ready to go. So we just it can be a distraction. But in high school football, there's always distractions. So whatever it be. So as long as we handle it, we've handled it. I felt like pretty well. We've already done it once this year, but we're hoping this Friday night that we stay on schedule. So.
Well, we're excited. You guys are the high school game of the week this week, taking on Fairfield Central, who's a ranked team here in 2A. A lot of teams starting their region schedule. You guys have an open region scheduled day, but are taking on a tough 2A Fairfield Central team. Talk about them and what you're expecting.
Yeah, obviously they're really good, and they like us. They played a 5A school to start the year, and that's been their only loss, and they've kind of dominated the games they've been in for the most part. They got a really athletic quarterback and running back. The running back is really good, explosive. And he played receiver last year, and he hurt us on a few things last year. So he's just a really explosive player. They got big linemen. They play solid defense, and so. It's just a really good overall team. They had a comeback. They were down 21 to Newberry last week, come back and win the game. And so they're a really good team. So, big thing we've talked about this week is, fixing our mistakes, controlling us and controlling what we do, and play our brand of football, if you want to say that. And then the biggest thing is just, we got to be able to tackle number two, tackle better in the open field, and then let's win in the box. If we can win battles in the box with ROL versus their DL or vice versa, if we can win those battles, those one-on-one battles, that's what we're really focusing on this week.
Awesome. Well, if you volunteer fans out there don't have anything to do Friday night, you know what to do, because AJ is at home. We'll be there. We want everybody else to be there. And the faraway family, you can tune in to Learn TV and watch it. But if you're in Kershaw, you should be at the game on Friday night to watch those Volunteers. Coach, thanks for being on, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm here with Buford Yellow Jacket head coach Joe Watson. Coach, thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what was your message to the guys? It looks like you guys had a furious comeback there late in the game, but came up just short. Tell us what you said to the guys after the game.
First thing I said was I was extremely proud of the way we played in the second half. We got after it with intensity. Then the next thing I said was if we could eliminate the second quarter, we might have been all right. I think that was the nemesis, was the second quarter.
And talk about your offense. They put up 13 points in the fourth quarter, and it sounds like, the last few weeks they've been putting up the yardage that just haven't got the points quite that you've wanted.
But yeah, I told them when we met as a staff, I said the last 2 out of the last 3 weeks, we've won every statistical category that you can have except the scoreboard. And so we just got to figure out a way to finish on the scoreboard.
And it sounds like, you're having guys that are really stepping up offensively that, your quarterback was out for a few weeks with an injury, and people are stepping up all around then and doing their part.
Yeah, Hunter's done a good job for us. He managed the game well. He was 8 for 19 for 95 yards. We had Gage Mahaffey had 2 catches. Hawk Wilson had 4 catches and a touchdown. So we're spreading the wealth around. Hunter ran for a touchdown. Tony Amos led us Friday night in rushing with 77 yards on 17 carries, and he had a touchdown. So, I mean, we're spreading it around and getting everybody involved. So, we just got to figure out a way to, like I said, we got to finish on the scoreboard.
And talk about your defense, what you've seen out of them and what you've liked from them heading towards the region starting up next week.
Well, Friday night, Isaac Praken led us in with 9 total tackles and a tackle for loss. And then Tony flipped over and played some defense for us too at outside linebacker, and he had 6 tackles and 2 pass breakups. And then Miguel Cuevas on the defensive line had 6 tackles and a forced fumble. So, I mean, we're getting people to the football. I can't even count how many assists everybody had, but, we preach 11 hats to the ball. And for the most part, we've done that. We blew a couple of assignments in the secondary, things that Coach Bailey preaches all the time is stay deep, and we just let a couple get behind us in coverage. And quarterback from Great Falls is a good athlete. And so, when he scrambles around, if we don't stay deep, then, bad things happen for us. And so we gave up 2 cheap ones like that. They weren't touchdowns, but they were long plays, and it just hurt us there in the second quarter.
And talk about your special teams, what you've seen out of them and what you've liked from them.
Well, we're doing a good job kicking the football. Christian was 2 for 2 with PATs, and we went for 2 a couple of times, and then he had 2 punts on the day for 97 yards. So, I mean, he's kicking the ball real well. Last week he was a special teams player of the week in 2A Upper State from the Coaches Association. So, like I said, special teams is doing a good job for us.
Yeah, and as you get ready for the region, Coach, it seems like, your kids are moving in the right direction. You haven't obviously got the wins that you've wanted so far, but how do you keep that positivity going to them, showing them, you guys are doing what we ask?
Well, it just goes back to, like I said, we're pulling in the same direction now. I think our kids understand that we're really close. Like I said, we just got to win on the scoreboard, and because right now, for the most part, effort's there.
And you got, as we said, region coming up. You're at home against North Central. What are you expecting from North Central?
Well, I would tell you that they gonna spread it out and let the quarterback read it from the backside, which quarterback is a great athlete, really fast, quick feet, and spins it pretty well. But I've heard that he's out with a broken leg, so we'll see what happens come Friday night. They got some good athletes. I will tell you that their defensive front, 51, 75, and 50 are all 3 back from last year, and all 3 of them can go play. They're good. They're good football players. So.
And I guess playing a variety of different teams has to help you, because you kind of prepare for one thing maybe in a game like this, and it doesn't happen if there's an injury or something. So you've seen a lot of different types of teams. Does that help you guys?
Oh, absolutely. Our guys can revert back to the things that they've learned and been taught. If they see something funky that they hadn't seen for the week in practice. But, for the most part, football is about lining up, getting lined up correctly, and then making tackles.
All right, well, this Friday night, the Buford Yellow Jackets are at home. They're taking on the North Central Knights. First region game for both of those teams. It should be a fun atmosphere at Buford. If y'all aren't doing anything on Friday night, make sure you get out there and support the Yellow Jackets. Coach, thanks for being on, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me. Go Jackets.
All right, guys, and thanks for staying with us here on the Playbook. I'm here with Indian Land head coach Adam Hastings. Coach, thanks for being on.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And talk about your message to the guys after the game. You guys were in it for almost more than half of the game. What did you tell the guys moving forward?
My message, yesterday was, it's tough. It's tough when you go back and look at film and you lost when you go back and you really see about 5 plays that just totally changed the game. We had 2 breakdowns on offense and 2 breakdowns on defense that created 35 points for them. 3 plays that they scored that were big plays that we were just not in the right spot on, or got pulled away from, or didn't make the play that we were there to make. Two mistakes on offense caused interceptions that were returned for touchdowns, and those ended up being just really big mistakes that it's just really common to make at this point in time, especially with a young team. So my message was, nothing's changed for us and our goals. Our goals still remain the same. It's a great learning experience because we didn't have a good week of practice. It was really frustrating. Coming off a bye week, we just didn't handle it very well. Didn't have a good week of practice. So for us, I think a lot of it was just introspective to what do we got to do to get better, to avoid being that in this position once region play starts.
And offensively, I thought you guys moved the ball pretty well in the game. You were able to do minus a few different plays, obviously. But offensively, you didn't look terrible.
No, we rushed for over 200 yards. Like I said, Matt did a great job. Other than two mistakes. The one thing we had to deal with this game we haven't dealt with all year was injuries. We had 2 major injuries. A right tackle for us just played great. Absolutely great. And he goes down. And then we had another offensive lineman go down, and we're a little thin in that position anyway. And so we had to put some guys in some positions that they weren't used to. And then, we lost to Marion Davis in the game. We had to put some guys in positions that they were not, hadn't been in yet. And so for us, it's kind of a learning experience. I told our team on Monday, I hate to say this, but somebody else is going to miss time this year because you're going to get injured. This is the reality of playing the game. Hopefully it's not long, but you're going to miss some time. So we have to be able to build depth and understanding of how the game works.
And talk about your defense and what you saw in them and what they need to improve on and what you liked from them.
Yeah, I liked a lot what we did defensively. I think our mistakes were limited to, again, just a small handful of plays that were things that I definitely think are teachable. They're things that they're better than us. They were better than us on Friday night, but they weren't more talented than us. And when they made those plays, it was just mistakes they made. And they got some really good football players that make really good plays. And so for us defensively, I think it's about shoring up some of the things and coverage stuff that we got to make sure we're good at to avoid those mistakes. There was a run fit that we messed up that gave them a big run on offense, or on defense rather. But overall, I was very pleased with their output.
And then talk about special teams and what you saw in them.
Yeah, it was another good game with special teams, but we gave us some kickoff returns that we got to fix, and had a field goal issue that on extra point that we messed up, but we made a good field goal later on. As coaches, we got to do a better job of just making sure the right people were communicating who's in when guys went out, because we just had so many guys go out, had to take a timeout one time just because we had the wrong guys in, and that was just communication on our part. I was just really proud of our guys, how they stepped up in those scenarios. When you got a bunch of guys out and you got to throw guys in, and it's a learning experience for all of us when that kind of situations happen. So I was really pleased with their output. Our quarterback, he has had an injury with his shoulder later in the game. Nothing that's going to hold him out for extended time, but we had to hold him out that game. And I was really pleased with Sequel coming in at quarterback and doing a really good job. And just for us as coaches, I think there's a lot of promising things that you can take from a loss, especially a loss to a good football team, which is what Marvin was, and a lot of things I think we can do a better job of in preparing our players.
And Coach, you talked about having a young team, and as you get ready for the region play, how do you keep that young team focused on the positive things going into that instead of, we took the loss, but there's a lot of good that comes out of that. How do you do that with a young team, especially, getting ready for these games that are even bigger?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just helping them understand their potential, which I think they have a small glimpse of. I don't think they quite grasp how good I think they could be. And I think for them understanding that there's only one way to do things, and we have to practice the right way, we have to prepare the right way. And in the weeks that we have done that, for the most part, we've played decently well. In the weeks that last week we did, and we had some issues that, just some things that young teams do in practice. And I think it was our players knew we were frustrated. We had a really good Thursday because our Wednesday was so bad. We had not, okay Tuesday. And so I think our guys really were able to realize that, man, if we prepare the right way, I think we can put ourselves in positions to achieve what we need to on Friday.
And speaking of Friday, you got Rock Hill. You guys are heading there. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, a new staff, but they're doing a great job. Building off what Bubba had done there for a while, and they got some really good explosive playmakers on offense. They got two quarterbacks that they rotate. One can really run it. One's got some really good arm strength, and those two of their receivers can really stretch the field and can make big plays. They're really talented. One's a really talented pass catcher, and one's a really talented route runner. So I think there's a lot for us that matchup wise, that we got to take on. And then defensively, I think their defensive lines are really, really talented. They got some big players there, that a lot of guys they rotate, and I think they're going to definitely, it's going to be quite a test for us on Friday.
Well, Indian Warrior fans, your team is playing at Rock Hill on Friday, not too far, at 7:30. Y'all make sure you get out and support those Warriors. It's region play. Now it's the big time. It's now these ones really, really count. So make sure you get out there on Friday night and support your team. Coach, thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Go Warriors.